This is the story of a simple and naive boy who travels on the path of becoming a king with his bravery and honesty. Along the way, he has to face dangerous creatures like boiling water and wells, and in this journey, he is accompanied by a person who is a great warrior, a loyal friend who helps him at every step, putting his life at stake. But will he be able to overcome all these difficulties and win the heart of the princess? We will see all this in today's exciting story. So, at the beginning of the story, we see a bright light running in the darkness of the night in a farmer's fields. It seemed as if a very strong lightning bolt had struck from the sky. The next morning, the farmer whose field it is calls his sons to look after the fields. While showing them, he says, "Look, someone has destroyed all our wheat during the night." When they hear this, his two elder sons say that maybe some devil has done this. But the farmer is furious about the destruction of his fields and sets out to keep watch at night. For this, he tells his youngest son, John, that actually these people consider John to be a fool and an idiot. Little do they know that it is written in this idiot's fate to become a king one day. At night, while John is guarding the farm, he hears the sound of a horse. Upon hearing this, he looks around, and as soon as he turns back, he sees a huge white horse standing behind him. This frightens him, but still, to catch it, he throws a rope over it, causing the horse to start running. Seeing this, John also holds the rope tightly and tries to stop him, but the speed of the horse increases. The speed is so high that John starts sliding forward and is unable to keep up, but due to its high speed, the horse goes straight and gets stuck in a swamp. Seeing this, John tries to pull him out, and by tying the rope to the windmill, he manages to take the horse out of the swamp. After coming out, the horse sits there sadly. Feeling sorry for him, John decides to set him free. But before that, John asks the horse to save him and takes a promise that from now onwards, he will never spoil their crops. Actually, this is a magical mare. After this, John releases her, and she becomes happy and starts running at great speed. She leaves, and the next morning, when John wakes up from his sleep, he sees that there are two very beautiful horses standing in the stable, and apart from that, there is also a small horse named Foal, who is the son of the same magical mare, and he can also talk to humans. The foal tells him, "My mother has sent these horses as a gift for you because she is very happy with you." John is very happy to see this. At the same time, John's father gets angry after seeing the destroyed farm and scolds him. Seeing them moving towards him, John becomes scared because despite his presence last night, the fields were destroyed. Then the foal takes him on its back and runs away from there at the speed of lightning, taking him far away. John is completely surprised. While running, they reach near a city. John tells the foal that both the horses are left in the stable, and then Foal blows a loud whistle, causing the horses to come straight to them from the stable. After this, John heads towards the market of that city with those horses, as he can get a very good price by selling them. When John reaches the market with the horses, all the people in the market are surprised to see these two horses because they had never seen such magnificent horses before. Everyone in the market wants to buy them. Then the foal suggests that John should sell the horses to the man sitting in the hut in front, but John insists that he will sell them to the king, expecting to get a lot of money. He takes the horses to the king, but there the king tells his minister, "It does not seem that these magnificent horses belong to him." The minister replies that the horses must have been stolen from somewhere. After this, the king takes both the horses from John and starts leaving without paying him. John feels disappointed upon seeing this. When the king walks away, the foal blows a loud whistle again, and hearing this, the horses leave the king's carriage and run towards John. As a result, the king's carriage becomes uncontrollable due to the running away of the horses and falls straight into some flour sacks. The king becomes like a white ghost and feels very embarrassed. It is not John's fault. If the king had been there, he wouldn't have said anything to John in front of the people. Now the king wants to pay John for the horses but also wants to take revenge for his embarrassment. So, on the advice of the minister, the king asks John to take care of the horses with him, to which John refuses. Then, in the next scene, we see that due to John's good nature and hard work, everyone in the kingdom starts to like him. But the king becomes jealous and wants to kill John at any cost. One of the king's ministers says that they will have to give him a task that he will never be able to complete. If he does not complete the task, they will kill him. That task is to catch the firebird, which is impossible to catch because to date, no one who has tried to capture the firebird has ever returned alive. So, the king orders John to do this job, which he accepts. Now when John tells this to Foal, the foal says that this is impossible, and that he should not have taken this job. The journey can be life-threatening for him, but John is determined. Fall agrees and takes John on his back to Bijli, carrying him to a forest where Fall leads him to a tree that is actually a tree of dream nuts. Here, Fall says that these nuts are the favorite of the firebird because after eating them, it goes into a deep sleep. John picks some nuts from there and keeps them. After this, both of them reach the place where the firebird lives, but the firebird is not visible because it lives underground. The bird tells John to throw those nuts there. So, John throws the nuts, and soon, with the smell of those nuts, the firebird slowly emerges from underground and starts eating the nuts one by one with great pleasure until, after a while, she falls unconscious. Just then, she regains consciousness, and seeing this, John starts to run away in fear. The firebird starts following him, but then a foam appears in between, causing the firebird to follow it instead. But before she can catch them, John throws the last dream nut he has in front of the firebird. After eating it, the firebird falls unconscious in the water again. The next morning, when she regains consciousness, John has already tied her in chains. Due to being soaked in water and being bound in chains, the firebird has now become very weak. Her willpower is gone, causing tears to come out of her eyes. Seeing this, John also becomes sad, and he decides to free the firebird. As soon as he unlocks the chains, the firebird can fly away happily, and leaves a glowing feather for John. John returns to his kingdom joyfully with the feather. However, the king's soldiers capture him in front of everyone because he could not catch the bird and now he is to be killed. But John shows the king and the people of the kingdom the feather of the firebird and says, "I caught it and finally set it free." The king does not believe him because the feather is shining brightly at that moment. Following this, the king states that since John did not follow his orders, the death sentence is given. But before they can kill him, the firebird arrives there, her feathers shining brightly, and the whole kingdom also starts to shine with the light of the firebird. Seeing this, everyone is convinced that what John said was true and that he indeed caught the firebird. Because of this, even the king cannot punish him, as his subjects now believe in John. Reluctantly, the king honors John in front of his subjects by adorning him with royal clothes and a turban, pretending to be impressed. Then the king, even more adamant now and determined to kill John at any cost, asks his ministers for suggestions on how to do so. One minister suggests that they will ask John to find and bring a princess for him, who is the queen of the land. She lives on the snowy mountain top, very far from the city. The minister reasons this would be beneficial, as if John brings the princess, the king can marry her. If he fails to bring her, the king can sentence him to death. The king likes this suggestion and, without wasting any time, announces it to the entire kingdom, sending John quickly to bring the princess. After this, John and Fall leave for that place, and due to Fall's fast speed, they reach there soon. However, before entering the fort, they encounter a thick layer of snow, which causes John to pause, as breaking through it is beyond his capability. Just then, the feather of the firebird comes tumbling in, causing all the ice to melt, and a lot of water starts flowing as well. The girl drifts down the mountain while John goes inside the castle alone, where he sees many girls sleeping, but he is unable to figure out which of them is the real princess. Then the feather of the firebird falls onto a girl. John goes to her and wakes her up, coming to realize that she is indeed the real princess. He informs her, "Our king wants to marry you. I am John, and he has sent me to take you." However, the princess replies, "If your king were truly brave, he would have come himself to take me." And she refuses to go with John, believing that there are no brave men left in the world who could save her. Then she jumps down from the top of the mountain. Upon witnessing this, John jumps as well, without a second thought to save her. But the princess has the ability to fly with the help of her special clothes. When John sees that the princess is soaring through the air, she catches him as she begins to float back down, but due to John's mistake, the princess' clothes get torn, and both of them start to fall rapidly. Meanwhile, Fall sees this and saves both of them with the help of his wings. He manages to catch the princess just before she falls, but she faints due to the height. Fall says, "I would have saved you earlier, but my magical wings were probably waiting for this moment." After which they land safely on the ground. Now, that night, when they stop in a forest, Fall takes John aside and explains that he has fallen in love with the princess, and that they should not return to the king, they should go somewhere else. However, John does not heed Fall's advice and continues to the castle. The princess also starts developing feelings for John. The next morning, John and the princess reach the kingdom, where the king becomes very angry at the sight of the princess with John because John has once again proved him wrong. However, the minister explains to the king that he should not be angry, as this will ultimately benefit him. The king now has the opportunity to marry the princess, and the people are overjoyed to see John bring her along with him. The king, as a result, honors John by gifting him gold and clothes, but despite this, John feels very sad because although he is in love with the princess, he must still hand her over to the king. At night, John hides and secretly goes to meet the princess, giving her a bouquet of flowers which makes her very happy, as she also harbors feelings for John. But just then, John has to leave because the king's men arrive, and afterward, they dress the princess in new clothes and take her to the king. After a long conversation, when the king asks the princess to marry him, she refuses, stating, "I cannot marry until my grandmother's lost ring is found, and I lost that ring somewhere in the sea." Hearing this, the king becomes worried. Just then, John arrives and the king says, "Hey, you have come at the right time. There is another order for you. You must find the princess ring from the sea and bring it back." John agrees to this. Then we see that Fall gets upset because now he will have to help John find the ring, and he is unsure of its location. Fall asks his mother for help, and she magically shows him in the sky that the ring is in the stomach of a big bellfish, which has now turned into an island in the sea. She also tells him how to reach there. The next morning, Fall sets out with John to look for the bellfish. As John and Fall are flying, suddenly John loses control and falls into the sea. Though nothing happens to him, he notices below that a huge whale has been tied with thick chains, which has turned into a small island. After observing everything, John realizes that this is indeed the bellfish they are looking for. Suddenly, a big wave rushes towards them, but it stops before reaching them. Fall and John manage to reach the bellfish while flying. Now, Fall understands the whale's language and realizes that she had swallowed some ships by mistake, and because of this, she is now bound in chains, but she wants to rectify her mistake. Upon hearing this, John begins to think about how to free her, and then an idea strikes him. If he can make the whale sneeze, it will break the chains and set her free. With this plan in mind, John takes a foil and puts it inside the whale's nose, tickling it until the whale sneezes loudly. One by one, all the chains break and fall, along with the ships she had previously swallowed. Meanwhile, John and Fall also come out with the sneeze and reach the shore, where they see the whale gleefully returning to the depths of the sea. But then John remembers he forgot to ask the whale about the ring, which makes him very sad. Fortunately, a crab approaches and gives John the ring. John happily presents the ring to the princess, who now understands that the whale knew what was in John's heart. John is filled with joy upon obtaining the ring. Afterward, he returns with Fall, but as soon as he arrives back, he secretly meets the princess and introduces her to her grandmother. After giving her the lost ring, he proposes to the princess. Upon seeing the ring, the princess realizes that John is genuinely brave, and she happily agrees to marry him. However, on the other side, the king's minister has seen John with the princess and arrives with an army to capture him, resulting in a fight between John and the soldiers. The noise wakes the king, and when he looks toward the princess's room, he sees a plaque there. Seeing it, he shoots, causing it to fall. Following this, John is arrested for meeting the princess secretly. That night, while the princess is in her room, a chick arrives and kisses her. It brings her to the stable, and it's revealed to be Fall, who had sent it. The princess tells Fall, "I wanted to kill the king at any cost, which is why I killed him by luring him with youth and sharing a potion recipe to help him pass through 3 ponds." However, at that moment, the king's minister arrived and advised that John should be made to pass through those 3 ponds first. So, the following day, in front of all the people, John is brought forth to face the 3 big vats. In the first pool, there is boiling hot water, in the second, there is blood-curdling cold water, and in the third, there is boiling milk. To save John, the princess must put her grandmother's ring into the first pool, then the feather of the firebird into the second pool, and finally the flower of the elixir of life in the pool of milk, which is found at the last turn of the earth. After listening to the princess, Fall exclaims that they have the ring and the feather of the firebird. However, he admits, "I don't think I'll be able to return from the last turn of the earth with the life nectar flower by tomorrow afternoon because I'm already injured." But the princess encourages him, insisting that he can do it. Despite being injured, Fall sets off at lightning speed to fetch the life nectar flower. The next morning, in front of all the subjects, the king prepares the 3 big vats and brings them forward. John is brought out of prison, but without delay, the king puts him in the vat of boiling hot water. However, the clever princess saves him by placing the ring in the pool, thus preventing his demise. When John falls into the cold water now, the firebird puts its feather in the pool, saving John's life again. Later, while flying, he ends up in the boiling milk pool, where he encounters a flower that says to him, "If you pluck me, you will die." Yet, Fall plucks the flower without considering the danger. On the other hand, it has been a long time since John fell into the milk trough, leading everyone to believe he had been killed, and they began to leave sadly. But then, while flying upwards, the flower drops the elixir of life flower into that pond. As soon as the flower falls into the pond, a bright light begins to radiate, and John emerges from the pond looking like a prince. Everyone is overjoyed at John's transformation. Having seen this change, the king jumps into the hot water tank to become young as well. Everyone is focused on him, but in the next moment, he surfaces trapped inside a large bubble and, while screaming and shouting, flies away with the bubble far into the distance. The people of the kingdom rejoice because no one liked the king. After this, they decide to make John their new king, as they now understood that he is a true and honest person. This decision brings immense joy to both John and the princess. Meanwhile, Fall fears for his life and is worried about what's to come, but the princess assures him that nothing will happen. She tells him, "The words of the flower were a great lesson for you. It was a test which you passed. If you had left without plucking those flowers, you would have surely died." At the end of the story, we see John and the princess getting married, and all the people of the state are dancing with happiness. The story ends here, filled with laughter and joy. Friends, I hope you enjoyed this story. See you with another interesting tale.